So the conceptual framework is something that at the FASB has, I think it may be fair to say, filled in the valleys of the workload. And it's not complete. There are a number of areas in the conceptual framework that the standard setters need to evaluate: measurement, for example, or presentation on the financial statements. And in the standard, there may be an issue-by-issue specific deliberation and a conclusion, but if you look at the conceptual framework, it's not necessarily the guide. So to give a little bit of a background on what the conceptual framework is, it's really a tool for the board to use and the staff to use to help the board think about standard setting. So conceptual framework, if there's a change in the conceptual framework, that does not mean that there is a change in existing gap, or necessarily that the board would never diverge from what the conceptual framework does, but it provides a starting point. So let me give an example. This was not while I was at the board, but emissions credits. So emissions credits are a new item, relatively new item in business, and a question may come to the staff: how do we account for emissions credits? Is it an asset because I can actually sell it to someone else? If you put it on your books, what exactly is the credit? Do you now have a liability to pollute? Is that really where we want to go?
It is interesting. Like, we were at a meeting together, Marsha, in London 2 months ago now, and it was with standard setters from around the world, and lots of the topics that were coming up, the regional standard setters or the jurisdictional standard setters would start first with the conceptual framework as they tried to think about how to advise the IASB, and how they were also trying to prognosticate how the IASB might think through an issue that will affect them down the road. So you know, I think it's exactly what Marsha said, a helpful tool to be a starting point. It's not something that changes standards itself at all, but it is something that helps board members and staff figure out a place to start, so that as new board members come on board, we're not always recreating the wheel, and at least we have you know, a starting point that we can all begin at when we endeavor to begin a new project.